Hi everyone, this is Laura from Grayne & Company. Today I am going to go through the process for your acrylic resin coasters with the dried flowers. So in your kit you will have a container of resin, a container of hardener, a 2-ounce cup, two round silicone molds, a wooden stick, and some dried leaves and flowers. So we're going to, you can do this a couple ways. I've done one way already just for testing, and I think I'm going to do a different way. So what we're going to do is we need to mix our hardener and our resin together. It's very important that you have a temperature of between 23 degrees and 29 when you're pouring your resin. So if your environment is too cool, we're going to need to warm this up in like a water bath so that it gets the temperature up there and makes the flow of the resin a little bit easier to pour. It is a pretty thick medium where the hardener is a lot runnier. So I'm going to warm up my resin. I'm just going to put it in some hot water, not very full, just get a container and I'm going to fill it up about halfway. This particular process, we're only going to use half of the mixture. We're only going to mix half of it right away, and then we'll come back and do a little bit more later. So I'm going to pause this, I'm going to warm up my resin, and then I'm going to be right back. Okay, so I'm going to talk for just a minute or two while this is warming up. So right now I just have it in a really flat container, and you are going to want to warm up both the resin and the hardener, not just the resin. You need to do both. Once that's warmed up, then we're going to take the hardener first, and with our measuring cup here, this cup has all of the markings on it for 2 ounces. So in each of these containers, you have 1 ounce of resin and 1 ounce of hardener. So we're going to pour 15 mils of one, and we're going to pour 15 mils of another to get us 1 ounce total. Now, when you're mixing resin and hardener together, it is extremely important that they are exactly 1-to-1. If you pour a little bit too much of one or the other, then there is the chance that this will not harden. So once we start pouring, I would suggest going down to eye level and very slowly pour up to the 15 mil. And then once the hardener is poured, then you can go and slowly pour up to the 30 mil. Now, this way we're going to pour, what's happening is we're mixing half of the mixture. We're going to pour a base into each one. Then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of the dried flowers. And then we're going to let it dry for 3 to 4 hours. And then we're going to come back, mix up the rest of the mixture with the 15 mils again, and then 15 mils of the other one, mix it, and then pour the rest. That is one way to do it. Now, depending on, I would definitely give you time. This is going to give you the best result. If you pour a base and fill the middle with your dried flowers, and then pour some over top, what happens is that they're so light that they will want to rise to the surface. So if we do only half of it and set the flowers in, they'll have a chance to set into the first layer before we pour on the second batch, and then they won't float. If you leave this process of them drying too long, like if you left this for a day and wanted to come back, then there's a whole nother process you have to do to what's sitting in here in order for it to stick together. So that's why you can only leave about 3 to 4 hours before you can come back and mix some more and pour the rest. All right, so I think this is probably good enough. I'm going to pause this so I can grab some paper towel and be right back. Okay, I am back. I'm going to take these out. I'm going to dry that off. You don't want to get any water into the resin and hardener, so just make sure that you dry everything off around the lid so it doesn't drip anything into there. And then you can just put this off to the side. Now I have some paper towel here. If you have some baby wipes or something like that, that makes it easier to remove some of this epoxy resin. You definitely want to wear gloves because you do not want to get this on your hands. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my hardener. Now I know you won't be able to see what I'm seeing when I pour this in, but I am going to take off my lid here. And very carefully, make sure you've got good light so you can see those markings. You want to slowly pour until you get to 15 mils. Now I gotta get a good light, there we go. All right. Just go slow, because sometimes it needs a second to stop flowing out of your cup to make that your 15 mils. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm just gonna take my paper towel here. Actually, take a baby wipe already. I kind of want to wipe off this edge here. Okay, and put that lid on. Okay, now double check your line. Make sure you know exactly where you're supposed to go to. Okay. All right, now comes the resin. Now this stuff is a little bit thicker than the hardener, so it stops a lot slower, so just make sure. Be ready to stop anytime now. Just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Stop, stop. Okay. All right, so once you get this poured, you have to start mixing. You need to mix these for 5 minutes. Now, your mixing also is a process. So I'm gonna sit down here. And you are going to mix. Make sure you get those sides, and you're going to mix really well, but you do not want to mix fast so that you get bubbles. I'm just going to pause this so I can set a timer. Okay, so you want to start to mix and make sure you're getting right down into those corners. Now you will get some bubbles, obviously, just from pouring and stuff, but you don't want to just vigorously stir it. You just want to mix it. Now, I know you're not going to want to sit here and watch me for 5 minutes, so I'm going to keep the camera on. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but I will speed it up really, really fast, so that way it will go by faster for you guys. Okay, so I'll talk to you soon. Okay, actually I'm going to come back on and just say something. So as I'm doing this, you can kind of see light white wispy ness in the mixture here. That's telling me that it's definitely not mixed. Like those, the epoxy tends to have, even though it's not white, it tends to show white in the cup sometimes when you're trying to mix it. Not like white, but it's a little bit more opaque, I guess. So just watch and make sure that that is all mixed when doing this. But you don't want to mix more than 10 minutes, but you don't want to mix under 5. But definitely mix well, just not fast. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now and continue my mixing. Okay, I've got less than a minute and I'm just taking a peek here. Now, you saw my first coaster that I did. This definitely is looking a lot better. My environment was a bit too cold, so I did it at the store. This one I'm doing at my house. So it's definitely not as thick as it was, or the warmness of my house is making this better. It's definitely not as bubbly, which is great. So once we get this poured, you can always take like a lighter and you can go over it very quickly to help pop some bubbles. I guess if we did that, you'll want to do that prior to putting your flowers in. So there's my 5-minute timer. So I'm just gonna double check it and make sure I don't see any kind of white wispy marks. I'm actually thinking it's pretty good. Okay, so what you can do is now take your coasters and then you can pour. And you're gonna do your best to try and pour half of it in one and half in the other. This one's definitely got more, so we're going to come back over here. Now, the biggest thing is you do not want to wash these containers out with soap and water. That is one of the big no-nos they have on the instructions. So, so if you have some baby wipes or a paper towel to wipe this out, and because you definitely do not want to pour this stuff down your sink, but you do need this cup again later. So take your stick and push this so it fills in all of your gaps here. Also, to make sure the surface you're working on is level. You want to make sure that you are pretty straight. You don't want your coaster to be crooked. I mean, if you want to double check, you could always take a level. Now that looks pretty good to me. I am going to try this trick with the lighter. Let me go grab that. Okay, so oops, I can see that this side is not pushed in all the way. So I'm just going to spread that a little bit. So just make sure definitely all edges are meeting. Okay, there we go. Okay, so they say to just like turn it on and just like go over top really quick. Although I don't know if I'm successful with this or not. I just feel like to say they have some bubbles that are a little bit. Okay, I'm going to make that work now. Okay, I left you guys. Okay, I'm grabbing some toothpicks, which I forgot to grab as well. That can help me with a couple things. First of all, they can help pop some bubbles. So I'm just going to pop some of these bigger bubbles that this lighter thing isn't working for me. Although I know it works, I just not sure. Okay, so anyways, now the toothpick will also help me with placing these flowers on there. Anyways, that looks definitely better than it did before. So now I'm going to take my gloves off. But careful if you take your gloves off, if they have resin, if you're gonna need them for later. Actually, mine don't really have any resin on them, so that's good. So I'm just pulling them off so I can wear them again. Now I'm going to go and set in my flowers. Now you don't have well, I've already used some of mine, so I don't have a whole lot left. And you don't get a huge amount in the beginning because you really don't need a whole lot. But just lay out some pieces on your coaster. Let's see. And if you want to ahead of time, you can definitely do this ahead of time. Now I'm just gonna kind of press this into there because I don't want there to be any void between this and pouring after. So I'm just gonna kind of push that in there. Now it will want to float because they're pretty light, but they can make contact with the resin and you should be good. So I am going to leave that. Now, to me it looks pretty good. I'm actually gonna put my gloves back on. And now you're just gonna leave it. So make a special note of what time it is on your clock once you did this. I'm going to try it at about, I know some ours say 4, so I'm going to try it at 4, just like it says on this instructions, although I've seen some say 3. So, and you know what, I might be a rebel and I might do it somewhere in between. So I'll let you know, obviously, in the video what's going on. And then I'll come back when it's time to do the second part. And we're just going to do the exact same thing. So I'm just going to put my stick there. Now, like I said, when you're done, just wipe it off. Do your best. Have a garbage can close and wipe out all of that extra stuff and throw it in the garbage. And then you can wipe this out. Now, once you've cleaned it out and it's completely empty of all like resin and stuff, then you can go in and wash your container out because we're going to need it for after. And this is something you can keep, you know, for yourself if you ever want to do this again. There is a chance that we may offer these as little kits in the store. I'm still deciding. See how these turn out. But yeah, so now my cup is completely dry. I just wiped it with those baby wipes. I took another paper towel and gave that a good wipe, and it is pretty good clean. If I need to, I might just even take a wet paper towel and just kind of rinse off any residue. But for the most part, that is looking pretty good, and I'm liking these so far. And yeah, I'll come back. Make sure you put your lids on your products there. And I will see you in 3 to 4 hours. And it'll be darker in here. So, but we'll finish it up. All right. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, I'm back to do the second part of the coaster. Right now, mine look really good. What's nice about a thin layer of the resin mixture is that the bubbles can easily find their way out, where if the layer is too thick, then they tend to stay a little bit more trapped. So right now, mine are as clear as can be, and so that makes me very, very excited. So prior to this video, I've been warming up my resin and my hardener again. So we're gonna finish the last bit. Now, yes, that container you are going to reuse. I wiped it out. It does say to remove all the residue and stuff to use isopropyl alcohol, but I don't have any here at the house, and so it is clean enough just with what I wiped it, so it should be fine. So once again, I'm going to start with my hardener. You are going to pour again to the tablespoon, or to 15 mils, which is 1 tablespoon. Now the light in here is not as good as it was before, so right now it's a bit of a challenge for me, but I'll do my best. All right, so here we go. Hardener first. Know to be as precise as possible. Find that line. Okay, there is mine. And now, oops, I really should have gloves on. Okay, and then next is the resin. Okay, going to 30. Whoa, slow down there. Grab my stick here. So very close. It's really hard to get this stuff. There. Oh, come on. Just a smidge more. Oh my goodness, I can't see. Yeah, okay, I would say that's good. Okay, and I am going to just double check that line. Where is my line? Can't quite tell, guys. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, that's good. So now I'm going to go set my timer for 5 minutes. And come back and stir. So yeah, if you can see, when you pour that resin in, you can see that it's a little thicker and it tends to leave those little thin wisps. So remember, stir, slow, get around those edges on the bottom, and just go slow. So I'm just gonna leave the video on again, and you can just watch me, and I'll come back just prior to being done the 5 minutes, okay? Okay, actually I'm coming back on right now. Okay, so my coasters sat just under 3 hours. I kept checking them because I didn't want them to get too firm. It does say to pour once it starts to get tacky. I did keep checking it after an hour, after 2 hours, and almost 3 hours. If I put my finger on it, it would leave my impression, but it slowly just evened itself out. So it's definitely tacky enough that it will take this and set enough that it will hold up. So just, I was first testing it with a toothpick just to kind of tap the edge, or the top, I mean. So whatever you need to do to kind of check it, but probably approximately the 3 hour mark, you can do your second pour. So I just did mine when I got home here this evening, and doing the second one now, and then you would just leave it overnight. So If you can do that, that's great. All right, so I can still see some wisps, not, we're at about the halfway mark. Still pretty good on the bubbles, not too bad. Can't wait to see everybody's arrangements in there. Now, the reason why we did the coasters is because we had a special piece that was coming with them for you guys to use with it. However, that will be coming if it's not already here for your guys' box. Yeah, you had a customized mug coming for your coaster, which we are quite excited about. But we will definitely make sure they get to you when they arrive. Just COVID and shipping and all that stuff just has slowing things down for this. So, all right, this is looking definitely a lot clearer. I can tell by the side of the container, it doesn't look quite as streaky. Remember to scrape those edges. Okay, I'm at the 40-second mark. Just gonna peek my head in here, guys, or I'm gonna pull it away here. See what this looks like. Yeah, not too bad. All right, my timer is gonna go off in a second. Okay. All right, let me take a peek at this. Yeah, that looks pretty good and mixed. I'm not seeing anything there. Okay, so now I'm gonna slowly pour the other half over top. Try and do an even coat. Okay, that one's gonna flood a little bit better, so we're gonna just try and help this one here. It's hard to tell which one needs it, but once I get this on, then now what's really nice about this coaster compared to my first coaster is that this one is so clear. I can see right through it, where my other one was, was my first coaster ever. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that this is sliding around. I try not to touch the bottom, so I just want to make sure that this is all the way around to the edge. Yeah, that looks good. This one needs a little bit of moving, so just take your stick and gently move it so it hits that edge. You want to make sure there's no void there. It's really hard for me to see, and I'm sorry if my head's in there, guys, but it's really hard for me. Okay, so once I'm done with you guys here, I'm just gonna turn the camera off here in a second, and I am gonna use a flashlight just to make sure that I have reached the edge of every bit here. But other than that, yeah, so we're just gonna leave it. We'll clean this up. You're gonna leave it for, you can usually unmold before 24 hours, but make sure it's set, it's not tacky or anything. Once it's hard and you can pull it out, then you're just gonna peel back that silicone and pop it out. And then let it, if you can, let it harden for a week. Try not to put it on a surface that has a tilt or is kind of curvy, because it'll still be soft and pliable, so it can misform. You want to put it on something flat. If you want it to make sure it's not going to stick to anything, you can always put it on parchment paper, but otherwise you're just going to leave it and let it just cure and harden, and then you'll have nice coasters. All right. I will come back when these are hard, and I'll do a little video on the final piece and give you some tips and stuff on things I've read. Yeah, I will be back on another video. All right. Hope you enjoyed this one. I really did. Thanks. Bye. Okay guys, I am back with the next day after my coasters have hardened, and they are nice and hard. I have a little blemish here, but it's from the leaf just not having enough resin, but it's not a big deal because it's just little speckles. So now we're going to unmold these and see what they look like. All right, here we go. So you're just gonna pull down on the side here and release that, and then pull this out very carefully. There we go. Wow, that looks really good. Nice and clear, just like that. Same with the other one. There we go. Now, if I tried to bend this, you could get a little bit of movement, so that's why you want to make sure they lay flat on a surface for a week. Like if you were to go like this, it would kind of give itself a little kink in there. So you definitely want to just leave them. Now there is a slight edge just from the resin, how it grabs the edge on there. Now I've been watching some videos, and so I'm going to test it on mine first. It's not like we can't just leave it like this, but of course I would like to go one step further and see what we can do to make this even more perfect. But other than that, yeah, they're good to go as is. You can use them as coasters. That's what we made them for. And you can use them either way. The bottom part that came out has a little smoother edge on mine, and so, you know, if yours are clear, you can definitely use that as the side that is up. But yeah, I'm gonna go find a technique to how to finish these off for you guys, and yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this one. Got me learning something new as well, so that's what I like, and I like to be able to teach you that as well. So if you have any questions as you're doing this, you know, message me before and not during your process, because by then it might be too late. But definitely give me a holler if you need it. All right, thanks guys. Hi guys, I'm back to go over the little bit of that coaster about that rough edge. So we're gonna do a sanding technique, and normally we would mix a little bit more of the resin mixture and we would do a fill, but I know based on the amount that I had in my container that you guys won't have enough. So we're just gonna do a nice sand. It doesn't have to be done with a fill, but we'll just try and help you get rid of that rough edge. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of water on my sandpaper. This is the gritty one. It doesn't really matter, whichever one of the sandpapers you have available. And you're just gonna do a circling motion to knock down and smooth out that edge. So it might take you a minute or whatever, but just go around, and then it'll just soften that. I got to get a piece of paper towel to wipe that. And you can also take some isopropyl alcohol and give it a clean, but that just kind of helped take the sharpness off of it a little bit. But yeah, and then I'm just going to turn it upside down anyway, so then my nicer edge is on the top. Yeah, if any of you guys have any questions, you can do it with either the gritty one or the smoother one, whichever one's in your kit. And you can do it after you're done on your projects. It doesn't have to be like a perfectly brand new piece. It just needs a little water will help it slide a little better. All right, so I hope that helps. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys' coasters. Okay, thanks, bye.